Infinite?
Infinite.
Infinite infinity. That's like a loop that never ends, almost like a halo.
Like a halo ring. Whoa.
Oh, wow.
It's what you see. It's a clever name that works on many levels.
We're here to talk about Gears of War.
Yes, we're here to talk about Mass Effect.
So, me and Kel have both played the game.
Yes. I was expecting more there.
I was hoping...
We have indeed both played the game.
I said a game. You were supposed to carry it on, Kel. Jesus Christ. We have played Halo Infinite.
Yes, we've played Halo Infinite, the newest entry in the Halo franchise.
The next decade of Halo, baby.
Oh boy.
What did you think of Halo Infinite as a product? Not just the story. What did you think of the whole thing?
As a whole thing, that's a complicated question, because we did talk about quite a bit in our last episode, the multiplayer component. On our last episode, we talked about it for half an hour.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So I don't really want to retread any of that. I did also, after that, make a video about it. So
you did?
So I have many thoughts about the multiplayer component.
You've had time to evolve your thoughts and let it all sink in, probably, since we initially spoke about it. So for people that haven't watched your episode...
I mean, not much has changed since then. I still think it's very, what's the correct word? Scummy? Is scummy a good word for it?
I think that's the business model you think scummy.
I mean, yeah.
What do you think of the gameplay?
I think it's a fun game. I think in terms of pure mechanical enjoyment, it's definitely the best Halo game that 343 have made.
Interesting. I actually thought you were going to try and say Halo 5 was better.
No, I mean, I like Halo 5, but this one just feels better. And I mean, it's been a while since I actually played Halo 5, so I might change my mind if I go back. But they did a good job of combining old with new, I think.
They did.
Like, it doesn't feel old like Halo 3. It doesn't feel too modern like Halo 5. I think it's a good balance.
It is a good balance. I'm not a fan of the big button combos for different things, like grenade switchings, but yes, it's fine.
It's a weird choice. I guess I don't really know how else they could have done it, because honestly, equipment never really made sense to me until I played the campaign component. Like in multiplayer, I thought the equipment and the way it worked was weird. But knowing now that in the campaign you're supposed to have access to all of it all the time, it makes way more sense.
Yes, it does. Now they're like they can be used forever. They're not consumables. You just get them. They're recharge timers.
Yeah, like the grappling hook makes way more sense if you can use it all the time.
Yes, the grapple hook really became the stool of Halo's triangle. They were the fourth leg. It was like the grapple hook is. It's crazy how important that is to Halo Infinite's single player. Like, so they always talk about the Halo triangle of gun, grenade, and melee.
Oh, the 3 pillars of gameplay, right?
The 3 pillars. Really, that has turned that triangle into a stool with 4 legs, and the grapple hook has really become that 4th one. And they're not even necessarily my words. I think it was Joseph Staten that said... Jason
Statham?
Not Jason Statham. The Halo guy that done all the gameplay demos back in Bungle's time, but he's back for Halo Infinite.
I don't know.
He commented on that, and I kind of not really put it into those words, but I thought about it. And then after playing the campaign, like, he's really onto something there. The grapple hook is just ultra useful.
It is, and having it be infinite, unlike on multiplayer, just makes it so much more fun.
And it's such a quick recharge when you upgrade it.
Yes, the upgrade system is an interesting addition and all that. I don't know where to begin. I definitely think gameplay-wise alone, I enjoyed the game. And we keep saying gameplay-wise because I feel like we both have complicated thoughts about the story.
We have, yes.
But I think the open world aspect of the game was an interesting choice. I think
they played the Halo mission from Halo 1 Halo and they ran with it.
Yes. In all of the best and worst ways, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think, in terms of making an open world game go, They did a pretty good job. Like, it's fun to play, it's fun to clear outposts and all this. It gets repetitive after a while, that's for sure, but...
Yeah. I like getting all the Valor score and being able to drop in new things at your base, but the world just feels empty.
Yes, that's a big problem I had too. Especially, like, the Marines you rescue feel so meaningless, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, they don't then become, like,
characters, or...
They don't become a galactic readiness in Mass Effect.
Exactly. There's, like, I guess some of them show up and kind of guard the checkpoints, and I know you can call in Marines as backup, which I never ever did, because why would I? On the screen it says you can unlock them, and the Valor points thing.
Yeah, on the Valor thing, but that just means they patrol your forward operating bases, then can theoretically come with you on joyrides. You can't drop them in.
Oh, I didn't realise that. Okay.
Yeah, that just means the bases are just kind of more stacked up. Like, sometimes I would drop in a Razorback and just take a bunch of really powerful Marines with me on a joyride. That was fun.
The thing is, though, like, just like all Halo games, Marines are mostly useless unless you give them a power weapon.
Yes. Give all of them skewers on Legendary. Whoa, mama.
Yes, we both played on Legendary, by the way.
Yes, so me and Kel went full in, hardest difficulty possible, and did you struggle?
For the most part, no, other than a few bottleneck points.
Yes, I would agree. Especially
the boss fights were just real sucky on Legendary.
Some of them weren't, though. That's the thing. Some of them
weren't.
Horrific.
The ones that were just like big instant kill bullet sponges are just the worst.
I found that some we'll see without talking about, we will go into spoilers, but without talking about spoilers right away. See the two big bosses in the game that you think of near the end of the game?
Yes.
I found them both really easy to kill.
Interesting.
I found various other ones throughout the game very, very hard to kill, but ultimately successful. Except one that I didn't think died, just kind of ran away.
The place I think I got stuck for the longest in the game, and the only part where I had to actually come back on a separate day because I was too frustrated, was the very last phase of the last boss fight. Not even like the actual boss fight, just the minions that come in.
So that's what I was going to say. That last boss fight is quite difficult, but it's not the boss itself that's hard. It's the brute chieftain. But yeah, this was quite this was not a surprise challenging Halo game on Legendary from the moment to moment going around the open world. Brutes will die to a battle rifle pretty quickly, and
yes,
like grunts will obviously drop. Elites were somewhat frustrating because there is no such thing as an assassination in Halo Infinite.
Yeah, and that's a weird choice.
I was like, not even the animation, but like the concept of a backsmack putting them down in one hit. Why wasn't that in the game? It's in the multiplayer.
Also, on Legendary, plasma pistols don't always instantly take down their shields.
Plasma pistols are pretty sucky in this game.
Yeah. Makes plasma pistols kind of useless.
Yep. No reason to use a plasma pistol. Shock rifles and disruptors is where it's at, boys. I really enjoyed the shock rifle, actually, in campaign. That was very useful. Its reload time and time between shots was a bit long, but if you can land those hits, they go down.
Weirdly, I found the pulse rifle way more useful in campaign than I ever do in multiplayer.
I hate the pulse rifle. I never use it.
In campaign, it's pretty good against shields, and the tracking is much more useful when you're playing against AIs, because AIs are stupid and they don't know how to dodge.
See, I was just quite aggressive. I never really needed that tracker, unless it was using a Needler. Because Needlers were great against all the bosses. Any boss fight in the game, a Needler was always great. Right, we've tiptoed round it long enough.
Spoiler warning.
Spoilers alert. What do you think? What's the story, Kyle? Tell me what the story's about, and then tell me what you think actually happened in the game.
Okay, the story is about John Master Chief meeting a girl who's maybe his daughter, but the kid is not his son. Or I don't know where I'm going with this, but
you sound like you just quoted a TikTok.
John Master Chief, he has to stop the Banished from taking over the big space ring.
Okay, now what was the game actually about?
The game was actually about nostalgically referencing old Halo games over and over and over again.
We agree.
They literally play clips of previous Halo games.
Oh, yes, were the clips or were they re-recorded?
They might have been re-recorded, but same difference. They show like holograms of keys. And
the keys one threw me. I was like, this is getting ridiculous now. when Captain Keys showed up, I was like, holy. Like, I got the echoes of Cortana's previous sayings. I got it from the thematic level they were trying to play it for. But when Captain, I was like, no, there's no need for Captain Keys to be here. It's like, oh no, not your Keys. Oh god.
That was definitely one for me too, where I actually think I rolled my eyes. It's like, are we seriously doing this right now? It threw me because from all the marketing, I expected this to be more of a soft reboot than it actually is.
Well, yeah, because they kind of tried to sell you on that. Like, you never need to have seen the previous games.
Which I completely disagree with. I feel like most of this game is completely lost on anyone who hasn't played even Halo 5.
All the emotional beats are lost if you haven't played the other games. I think this game is vaguely kind of easy to pick up, but you won't really know what's happening. You won't feel the resonances of any emotional beat they go for.
All of the stuff with Cortana is meaningless if you haven't played all the previous Halo games.
Yes, You know what? I'll tell you what my favourite part of the story was. The audio logs.
I have to agree.
I found that story much more interesting.
Yep, the story of like post-Infinity and all the Spartans trying to deal with that, or other stuff.
I like all the Spartan logs of them trying to evacuate Lasky from the ship. The process of Infinity being like destroyed. There was a line that I missed. Did they say that Cortana destroyed Infinity?
See, here's the thing. They reference Infinity being destroyed a lot, but since we never actually see the wreckage, I'm not convinced that it actually is destroyed.
Did the Infinity fly into the Halo ring? Is that why the ring's hurt?
No, the ring is hurt because Cortana blew it up.
Right. Okay. All that was lost on me. This is the thing. Like, so I'd said to Kyle, ladies and gentlemen, before the game came out, but I'd watched the
opening cutscene.
I'd watched that, and there was like YouTubers that were given access to the first 4 missions, and they'd uploaded them to YouTube, and it was like official Let's Play marketing type thing deals. And all the in-game dialogue implied that they didn't want to pay a writer, that they pulled a Tom Paris.
Who you mentioned this on the podcast, and I didn't ask who the character was. I'm curious now.
Atriox.
I mean, that you get disproven on that front in the first 2 seconds.
But what I meant by that was like, why isn't he just the villain? Who's Erisham?
That is insane to me, and I cannot. But the whole game is like, okay, so for people who haven't played, Atriox is the big bad of Halo Wars 2. They stole him for this game. For the first 5 seconds cutscene, he beats Master Chief, throws him into space.
He says one line of dialogue. He says his name.
And then you wake up and it's like, oh, he's dead. It's like, what? Atriox is dead?
It's like 6 months have passed and you've kind of been floating out in space for 6 months, and Atriox is dead vaguely, and then Erisham's here, but Erisham isn't his second in command. Erisham was always... Escharum. I always kept doing that. I had the subtitles on for the game and I was like...
It doesn't matter, he's boring.
He's boring brute. And like, I thought he was like the second in command that had been promoted, or just some chieftain that was going to be the villain for the first third of the game. Mm-hmm. No, he's the big bad of the game, and he apparently was always Atriox's boss. He was like Atriox's mentor.
He's like Atriox's mentor or something. Yeah, it's really weird.
I'll tell you who he is. Do you remember in Destiny 2's Red War campaign? Gaul, and then Gaul had like the little other guys.
Yes, that guy, that random other guy. The speaker, or whatever it was.
No, the speaker was Bill Nye.
No, it was the something.
It was, but you know, it was like Gaul, who was the head Cabal evil guy in white that wanted superpowers, and then he had like his little chum that was like his second in command, but was also his mentor.
Yes, I think we should abandon the guard, the ball.
The speaker.
We should use the ball's power.
Yeah, then he gets killed by Gaul.
Yeah.
That's who Escharum was.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a really good sign because neither of us can remember that guy's name.
Yeah. The only reason we can remember Escharum is because he's more current.
It's because they say it every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Atriox was actually a good villain with a memorable name. And Master Chief pronounced it really weird every time he said it. He said Atriox.
Okay, let's pause on Cortana stuff for now. I want to talk about the Banished.
Okay, let's talk about
Just
the Banished.
In general. I think the Banished in Halo Wars 2 were a fantastic villain. I really enjoyed them in Halo Wars 2.
Yes.
In this game, they're basically just the Covenant, but red.
Yes, and they're not. They're more like a cult for a single man and not for holy rings. Even though they want to detonate the ring. I don't know. They're in league with
unclear.
another alien, not the Forerunners, but like there was like this game had like a context of like, you know, history being written by the victors and the Forerunners being the victors, and they're like erasing the existence of a whole other species. Even though we've played Halo 4 and 5, where they greatly go into the back lore of these things with terminals.
They say the name of this race once. It's like the Calixi or Nalixi or something like that.
They're called the Endless.
They're called the Endless, but they have another name, like the Elixir or something like that.
The Elixir needs to Fallen from Destiny.
I'm sure it was something like that. But they're...
But yeah, no, I was so confused because it wasn't apparent like she wanted them to bring up the 4 hours past. Like, this ring inside it had more of the Endless, the Harbinger, had more of the Harbinger's people in like storage or something.
and these like big carbonate tablets.
Yeah, and I think it's implied this ring can do time travel.
It is implied that, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, is this going to like a time portal? Like they want to bring the Endless... It's like Transformers Dark of the Moon. They want to open up a portal here that will bring the Endless forward in time to this point.
I mean, she is called Harbinger.
Yeah.
So I immediately thought Reapers.
Yeah. So, like the Banished want it for vague reasons. Like the Cortana didn't. Cortana wanted to have Atriox and the Banished submit to her. Atriox is a good bad guy. Was like, I ain't doing that. And then Cortana destroyed the Brute homeworld with her guardians. And then,
which they do in such a casual way, which is like,
I thought that would have been a really good cinematic.
So did I, and everything. All of this is what you said about same for the audio logs, but just the whole game. It's like everything interesting in the story already happened.
Yeah, you've woken up 6 months later and you're just kind of walking around piecing it together. It's like if ODST didn't have the flashbacks to your other team members.
Yes, it is exactly like that.
You find Rookie Sniper Rifle hanging in a street lamp, and then like a hologram vaguely shows you some of that mission. And you're just left in nighttime to continue walking around again. That's exactly what this game is. This game is, it's all sort of come out since the game's launched because there's been a massive backlash to the game. And they've basically said, yeah, this game was an absolute horrific mess. There's a reason everything was delayed. I think this game is a product of it kind of being not rushed exactly, but having the production cycle was managed poorly. They were talking about how they brought in Joseph Staten, Mr. Bungie man. He was working at Xbox Publishing, and then he came in as the head creative guy for Halo Infinite, and he was able to get the game extended by like a year because he was like, this game's never going to meet its launch date. And they were given a year to try and work it out. And I bet the reason a lot of this interesting story stuff happens in boring Forerunner holograms in front of you in gameplay is because it was that or the game wasn't coming out for another 2 years.
Yeah.
God knows. Apparently the multiplayer has been roughly ready to use for like a year. Like the multiplayer as it is at the minute has been like this for the past year, and it's just kind of been sitting around ready. But the campaign's what really needed the big overhaul, and it's a miracle that this game's in any sort of working state at all. And again, the gameplay's fun, but I think that
it's remarkably bug free. I'll say that. Yeah. I encountered almost no bugs.
But what the hell were they doing from a story design perspective? They focused too much on the open world.
And I think that was an issue because it makes all of the environments so samey after a while. Like, basically, the back half of the game is almost entirely linear. Like, the last, 6 missions, once you enter that big tower, it's all linear from there.
Yeah. And
they're all just the same, Forerunner hallways. That's it for the next 4 hours of gameplay is Forerunner hallways.
Well, if you look at the map because you can open up like a HUD map thing, the map's in like a big horseshoe, And once you get to the bottom of the horseshoe and start going up the right side of the horseshoe, that's when it's just linear. You can't go back. You can't really make use of your FOBs because you load into like linear missions. Like you go into a tower and you go to a computer terminal, the screen kind of loads and the door locks behind you and you're stuck in there.
And the thing is, like, the entire open world, it all looks kind of the same. Like, there's hardly any distinguishing landmarks other than some of the Banished buildings.
There's nothing memorable about the open world. It all looks very same. Now, again, the game looks pretty. There's an achievement for taking in a breathtaking view. I don't know what that breathtaking view is yet. I haven't found it.
It's the top of the highest mountain.
Right, okay, I'll need to go there. I've been near it. But because, I don't know, it's meh. There was some good moments, like where you would tap to catch a nice view as you're driving around a corner, and you would see the Halo ring go up in front of you, and the Halo music would kick in. It's all beautiful. Like the game knew you were looking at something spectacular, so the music would change, and it felt like it was a feast for the eyes, but not a feast for the mind.
What's crazy to me is, like, all of it is just this kind of, like, green grassland with trees and white rock faces. It's basically Halo from Halo 1. It's that exact same environment recreated, right?
Yes.
But it's a Halo ring. It's an artificial environment. They could have had every island be, like, a different biome, and that wouldn't have been out of place, and that would have made the map way more interesting. I don't know why they didn't do that, actually.
They do it in Fortnite.
They do it in Fortnite.
They do it in Fortnite. It's not even different islands. It's just you move from one biome to another seamlessly.
Right, the entire map didn't have to be this Halo 1 recreation.
But they're stuck in nostalgia.
Yes.
Captain Keyes showed up.
Captain Keyes shows up.
If Captain Keyes showed up, that's Halo Infinite. Captain Keyes was there. Of course, they thought it was 2001 again. It's 2021. You know, it's the 20th anniversary. Of course, they were stuck in this frame. I mean, it worked for Halo Reach, I guess. Captain Key showed up then.
But I mean, for me, the real issue with this game is the story is almost shot for shot a remake of Halo 4. I don't know if you had picked up on this.
It referenced Halo 4 quite a bit.
It referenced Halo 4 quite a bit.
Except it didn't mention the Didact.
The Didact was just replaced with the Harbinger, and for the same basic story of having to stop this ancient evil from being unleashed.
Yeah, and working with the bitch aliens, the Covenant. Yeah.
Yep, and forming a relationship with an AI. It literally ends with the same scene of saying goodbye to Cortana.
Yep,
it's like the same scene.
Yeah, I did enjoy that she done a pre-recorded message though and anticipated what the weapon was going to say. That felt very Doctor Who.
Yes, it was very, very Blink.
Yeah, very Blink. No, you're right on the head. Like there was one scene between the pilot and the chief that actually hold on. I want to say about something I liked. I liked the characters that were in the game that were protagonists. I enjoyed all three of them. I liked the chief. I liked the weapon, and whose name may or may now not be Cortana. They never said it because I think they're waiting to see how that goes down with the community before the next story expansion.
I think that after all we learned about Cortana in this game, like, changing her name to Cortana would be very weird. It's like, I'm going to name myself after the genocidal monster who blew up a planet.
They talk about how she's another Cortana model, and Cortana's maybe redeemed because for some reason Cortana's like, oh no, Atriox is actually more powerful than I thought. And I'm like, how is he more powerful than you thought? I saw what you could do in Halo 5. Don't tell me you can't deal with Atriox.
This entire element, they just completely gloss over it. That there's no fucking way the Banished should be able to beat Cortana.
Yeah,
there's no way.
Like, for some reason, Atriox is able to beat Cortana. Now Cortana's like, oh my god, no, what have I done? Only the chief can help now. And
it's like, you can instantly EMP in like a 1,000,000-mile radius with one Guardian. How are you possibly being beaten by the Banished?
If you have a bunch of them around the planet, you can end that planet. Like, this shouldn't be a problem for you, Cortana, but it is a problem for Cortana for some reason.
They also have like one line where they're like, we were hiding in Sydney and then she wiped it out, and they're like, what, the base or the city? Yes.
Yes, I think that's the end of Halo 5.
No, Halo 5 ends with you just landing back in
No, I mean when Infinity runs away.
Oh,
I think they're in orbit around Earth when that happens, and I think that's like she's speaking to Lord Hood before she pops up on Infinity. I tell you what, I'm not like immune to like haha thing, you know, because when she was speaking to Lord Hood, even though Ron Perlman didn't come back and nobody came back to voice Lord Hood, I was like, good to know he's still alive.
I did miss Lasky. I don't know why. I'm not like that big into Lasky, but like
I like Lasky. I like the Infinity.
I like the Infinity too.
Like it's what like.
I like Sarah Palmer.
She's fine. We get stuff. Like, people give 343 a lot of shit for their tenure in Halo, and people don't like Halo 5, I know you do. But everyone kind of vaguely likes the Infinity, and most people kind of think Halo 4 was fine, I know you don't. Kel's the contrarian.
It's okay.
But, like, yeah, but people...
I've eased up on it a little bit in recent years.
Oh, thank God. Everyone vaguely seems to have liked a lot of the new elements if they weren't big on the story per se. And Infinity was great, and Lasky was great, and I would have liked to have seen more of it. Like, we saw Infinity for not even in one full frame. We saw part of the Infinity as it was getting wrecked. And then everything's over. So, I don't know what's the next story expansion going to be, because Atriox is alive.
Apparently. Big shock twist.
Let's talk about the legendary ending, Kyle, because I'm sorry we've kind of glossed over a lot of the story. There's not much to tell, except...
We'll get back to it.
Except there's a pilot, there's an AI, and there's the chief. And the pilot was like a fanboy.
I mean, not even. He's just like a guy.
He's a whiny bitch.
I'll be honest. For most of the game, I was so sick of that character because he's just a whiny asshole. It's like, shut the fuck up and let me do my job.
A lot of his dialogue when like he hugs the chief and he's like, "Yes, we're going home," and then Chief says, "I need a weapon" at the start, and he says, "Finish the fight at the end of the game." Like, and the way the pilot reacts to those comments in that moment, it's like, woohoo. He's like, yes, ah! And I'm like, oh yeah, that's supposed to reflect the community. That's me. I'm the pilot, and his name's Fernandez, I think.
Something like that.
So yeah, I like the characters, but then this game ends with all three of them in a pelican, and the Halo music kicks in. The Halo 2 music kicks in, I think it is, and then the credits roll, and then we get an ending. And I don't know the non-legendary version, except you said maybe the non-legendary version doesn't have the voiceover, which I think so.
I haven't looked into it, but I think that's how it works.
Which I think is very weird, because no other words of dialogue are spoken.
I think it's just the reveal that Atriox is alive, which I was expecting the entire game for that to happen, so it really wasn't a shock to me, because...
I honestly thought he was dead, because...
I never thought he was dead. That would have been so weird.
Well, based on everything else the game had done, I was like, they've actually been that stupid to do it.
The only thing I could have possibly justified him being actually dead was if they were saving him as a villain for Halo Wars 3, because honestly, it seems like with this game they've completely fucked whatever plans they had for Halo Wars 3, but that's another topic.
Maybe Halo Wars 3 will be the audio logs for this game.
I don't know about you, but this entire game, I was so worried about the Spirit of Fires, because they never referenced the Spirit of Fire.
Where's Ellen Anders? She met a Guardian.
Where's Ellen Anders? Where's Captain Cutter? Where are my boys?
Where is Red Team?
Because they make very, very, very light references in some of the audio logs to the events of Halo Wars 2. Like, they mention having found something on the Ark at some point. There's one reference to Colony, I think.
I remember that. I haven't found all the audio logs yet, but I've found pretty much most of them. I've gone through it. There's only like a few that I haven't found. You know, they have kind of messed it up, but I really thought they were silly enough to kill Atriox, so the fact that he showed up at the end did surprise me, because I really thought they had been that silly to kill him. Because why would the Banished think he was dead?
It's so bizarre, because...
Why would Escharum believe him to be dead?
For this game, they set up... Like, first cutscene, they set up Atriox beats Master Chief. Okay, we have a rival for the game, right? That's a rival starting moment.
That's an Avengers Infinity War. Thanos beats up Thor.
Exactly.
Thor cuts his head off at the end.
Exactly. That's exactly the scene that was.
Yeah.
But then he's just gone for the entire game.
Yep, and he shows up in a post-credit.
It's
crazy.
It's like if that happened at the start of Infinity War, and then the rest of the movie they were fighting against Ebony Maw. It's like,
and then Thanos shows up in the post-credit where the Captain Marvel thing starts off with Sam Jackson. Yeah. Completely right. And then the fandom was supposed to, in the legendary ending, was supposed to lose their shit when you see Atriox not saying a word and activating some endless carbonite defrasers, and the endless that ever speaks. I think it's a Forerunner that speaks though. It says
it's the monitor that you meet earlier in the game.
There's the monitor speaking to like a manly man voice.
Yes, something like that.
And that manly man voice I thought was the man that was walking, but that's not what that sounded far too proper to be a brute. It does sound like Atriox, because it said bring in offensive bias, which is a big lore AI. It's a big Forerunner AI. Like you get mendicant bias and stuff like that. I think that was the one that like sided with the Flood. Mendicant bias was the AI that like sided with the Flood and basically turned the tide of the war between the Flood and the Forerunners. So offensive bias is another AI I'm vaguely familiar with, but I don't really know anything to get into it. So like the story going forward is like, did we make contact with the UNSC, or we, in this next story mission, is it just going to be minutes later and it's the three of them on this Halo ring, or is the Infinity going to show up? Is the Spirit of Fire showing up in a DLC? What's happening, Kyle?
This definitely felt like episode 1. Would you agree?
I think it felt like season 1.
Season 1 episode. Well, it felt like the first part of a story.
Yeah.
Which means it's only going to work if they nail the next part of the story. But you're right, like, what now?
We're on a Halo ring and there's nothing.
I mean, they set up, like, they do, like, a Hydra moment where it's like, if you kill me, Tomo shall take my place, and all this, so...
Yeah. And... who's the two more?
I don't know, just probably 2 more randos.
Escher still thought the Harbinger was still out there doing our bullshit. And why was the Harbinger trying to kill Chief? Chief's a human. It's the Forerunner she hates. The humans didn't do it. Well, maybe the ancient humans did do something to her the same way they done something
her
to the
motivations are total, like, space alien nonsense. She never justifies or explains anything she's doing.
Well, I got why Didac didn't like humanity. I don't get why she doesn't like humanity.
I did. I wasn't a big fan of the Didact, but I got it. He's angry and vengeful. Okay, fine. I get it.
This bitch, like, the Forerunners aren't here anymore.
I guess, like, she wants to bring back her race, but why doesn't she just tell Master Chief that? Like, yeah, hey, can you help me?
Can you help me? And why does she need the Banished to achieve that? Is it because Cortana put a spanner in her works for her to do it herself?
I guess so. Where did she even come from?
Well, the Banished woke her up. The Banished set her free.
That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, we see the open one at the start of the game.
Yeah, for some reason the Banished were only capable of freeing one of them.
Well, I still have no idea what the skimmers actually are.
I thought they were like drones.
They were like organic robots or something.
Yeah, so vaguely Promethean, but not Promethean. Where are the Prometheans?
Yeah. Where are who knows? There's so much of this game where it's like, so much of it you have to have played the previous games, but if you have played the previous games, you just have so many questions about, like, well, where are all the Guardians? What happened to them? What happened to all the other AIs that joined Cortana's?
There is a crashed Guardian in the skybox.
Is there? I did not see that.
So it's on the Halo ring, but it's crashed. You can see it in the distance. But yeah, like, I think the reason they said you don't need to have played another Halo game to play this game is because if you have played another Halo game, you don't know where anyone is anymore. You're like, everyone's just gone. Maybe Lasky's dead.
There's one audio log where they're like, we're reassigning Blue Team to another mission. Like, what other mission, Lasky? What could possibly be more important than stopping Cortana right now?
Getting the Spirit of Fire.
And like Locke and Blue and Fireteam Osiris, they're just elsewhere, I guess.
There's an audio log about them. I'm sure they mentioned Locke being dead.
There's one mention. No, I don't remember that mention. I remember there was a mention where Lasky and Halsey are talking about sending Master Chief on this mission to kill Cortana, and Lasky's like, "Oh, we could send Locke instead. He's prepared." And Master Chief's like, "No, I'll do it myself."
I thought there was an audio log about Locke dying like a bitch or something, like implying that he wasn't around anymore. I know there was like concept art before Infinite came out with like a brute with Locke's helmet on like his armor.
I don't remember this in the game.
I can't remember the brute art himself wasn't in the game. I didn't notice him. He looked like to be a boss or some site they never put in the game. But it was the armor that Locke has and his helmet was adorned almost like it was a shoulder pad for a brute that had murdered him. And that was obviously before the game that came out by like 2 years. That's an old piece of art. But I'm sure there was a mention of, or an implication that Locke was dead. Because this game doesn't really outright say anything. It just implies shit.
No.
Maybe Infinity is destroyed. Maybe Lasky's still around. Where's Halsey? Is she on San Helios? Where's Keith David?
Where... They mentioned Palmer a couple of times, but she's never appears in any of the logs, I don't think. They probably couldn't afford her.
I liked this game, but my goodness gracious, it's such, like, it's so empty.
It feels like doing the same things over and over again. Let's speak, at the most critical of that is Cortana. Let's talk about Cortana a bit more. We've kind of danced around Cortana and Weapon and that whole situation.
Right.
But Weapon, like, the fact that she is literally a copy of Cortana just feels so on the nose to me.
Well, another Cortana model I'm fine with. And it's like Halsey made a Cortana to mimic Cortana so that she could break in and...
Sure, I get it within the story. It's just a way of reestablishing the same
dynamic
relationship again.
I will say though, Jen Taylor, wonderfully talented voice actress to play 3 different characters in the same game who are technically different variations of the same person, and have
she also plays Halsey,
and have it instantly recognizable which one she's doing.
I will also say the fact that the Weapon didn't realize she was a copy of Cortana is insane to me.
Yeah, I would have thought she just would have known that. I guess maybe, especially when you think that you've got another Cortana on your hand, keep it need to know.
Yeah, but like the way that was revealed, like it was a twist. It's like that wasn't a twist for me.
That wasn't a twist for me. Anyone that played the game, though.
That was only a twist for the people. That was only a twist for Weapon. Like everyone else already knew that.
Even if you'd never played a Halo game before.
Yes, like she has a different voice, but it's still clearly the same voice.
Yes, it's different personality, but it's the same person. Crazy, absolute crazy.
And I will say, I like Weapon. I like her dynamic with Chief and how she's like chipper.
When they make it's just Isabel.
Yeah, I guess
an uncertain AI that's like needing the big Spartan to protect her,
which in itself was also just Halo 1. It's just rings. It's just infinite. It just goes on and on.
Oh god, Halo Infinity.
I did think I was shocked to see that they actually used Cortana's Halo 5 design, like, entirely. I did not expect them to do that.
So did I. I genuinely didn't. Though at the end when they say goodbye for the 5th time, it is just Cortana's model again. It's not the Halo 5 model.
It's like the Halo 1 model.
Yeah, except minus all the rainbow colours on her, yeah.
Because I guess they decided for this one it's finally time to make her less booby. I don't know.
Apparently so. I like Weapon's outfit. It's like a UNSC.
Yeah, sure, it's fine.
Combat outfit. How was Roland doing?
I don't think he's ever actually mentioned in the logs. I think he was actually Tom Paris. Because they have like a sort of automated voice in some of the logs, but not Roland's.
Yeah, it should just be Roland. If it's from the
Roland.
Infinity anyway. The fact that we're mentioning that we like that they used Halo 5's Cortana model says to me we have very little else to say about Halo Infinite.
We've not once actually mentioned Chief and his part in this as the main character.
You know, I mean, I like when they try to give Chief human beats. I do like it.
In this game, it's the same beats as Halo 4 for his character arc as well. It's like all of these lessons he's learning in this game, hasn't he already learned them?
Well, it was like a difference between a man and a machine. I think in this game he's carried over those lessons. I think he feels more human in this game. It's just that he doesn't know whether or not he can trust the weapon. For reasons I don't quite understand, because presumably he had already met the weapon. He was the one that placed the weapon on the ring the first time.
I mean, I've made no secret of the fact that I'm not a big Chief fan.
Yeah, you're not a big Chief fan.
There's something about this game in particular, like, I feel like the voice actors kind of lost it a little bit.
Steve Downes, I thought he was on point.
There was a lot of, like, line deliveries in this where I'm like, I just felt like he was out of it, and especially compared to Jen Jen Taylor.
I think they're different.
Just wasn't matching up.
I think they're different levels of talent, but I do think that Chief is as good in this game as he's ever been in any game. Steve Downes. I think he hasn't lost it. I think his voice doesn't really require much acting, really. Like, yes, it does require a certain level of performance, but I think it's been perfectly consistent with what he's previously given the project.
Well, yeah, like, he was hired initially 22 years ago because he has a cool voice, but I don't think he has a lot of range to deliver, like, emotional dialogue, which is what they're trying to do.
Well, I think Chief's quite emotionally stunted.
And I get that, but I never felt that.
Well, actually, I did. I'm really drawn into this man stuck in his armor that kind of can't express himself, even though he's got things he wants to say. And that really came through in Halo 4 for me specifically. I think Halo 4 was probably Steve Downes' best performance as Master Chief. But I think that in this game, because this game just kind of feels quite empty, I think the performance was just as good, but there's like a whole range of other factors that kind of made the emotional impact not happen as much. But I don't think his performance was the issue.
Maybe it is just like, I keep mentioning the irony of this game being called Infinite, because like it just feels like we're doing everything again. Like, the Banished have basically replaced the Covenant. Like, in the Halo universe, there can never be peace, because there always has to be another Halo game, so there always has to be another Covenant, and there always has to be Master Chief, and there always has to be Cortana.
There always has to be an ancient civilization that left super advanced tech.
Yep, we're just going to keep doing this again and again into infinity, and I don't know if I'm on this train.
It's called Halo Infinite. It's never going to end. I think this campaign was a primer. I mean, you liked Halo Wars 2, and it's that villain hasn't. The Halo Wars 2 didn't end like a definitive. The villain has been defeated. It kind of ended very much with momentum to it. So there is still more to tell in this universe. This game just might have. This first chapter of Halo Infinite was just a primer for what's to come, which for the main campaign is a bit silly.
Halo Wars 2. I loved Halo Wars 2, and Halo Wars 2, I was rewatching the cutscenes of that game after I played Halo Infinite. It's like, fuck, that game nailed an underdog story.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Cutter gives that speech at the start. It's like, this is our home and we'll defend it. It's like, fuck yeah, Cutter, let's do this.
Oh, yeah, when he hits the red alert button and they're all like, fuck yeah, good. Oh, great. Love Halo Wars 2.
And that cutscene gives me chills every time. I love it. And, like, somehow that game, where you're playing an army with 3 Spartans and a big ship, was a more believable underdog story than this one.
Yeah.
Because everyone in this game just assumes Master Chief will win, which I find really interesting.
But it was because Master Chief's like a living legend.
And
Master Chief is Luke Skywalker, and if Ryan Johnson had made this game, Chief would be a complete incompetent mess.
Let's not go there. I see what you're trying to do. I'm not going to take the bait.
This game was about failure. And there actually was a scene in this game about it, and I really liked it, between Chief and the pilot. And Chief's like, I do the best that I can. I thought it was a really good scene between the two of them.
The thing is, like, in terms of actual story points, like, Master Chief is just completely unstoppable.
But I feel tension for the people around him. It's like when Cortana, like, I didn't really think Cortana was about to execute Atriox, though I did believe he was dead. But it's not really the question of is he going to die, but she blew up his planet. I don't think Chief's going to die, but it's the people around him that I'm concerned about.
Anyway, back to my Halo Wars 2 point, right? Halo Wars 2, I enjoyed it especially because it was the first game of the current Halo era that made me feel like, okay, we can still tell new stories in this universe. And Halo can still tell stories that entertain me and interest me. And like, I like Halo 5, right? But Halo 5 isn't particularly, like, new. I don't think, like, it's been a while since I played it, but there was the stuff with the AIs and stuff, sure, but it still had you fighting the Covenant and all this nonsense. And it was still all about Master Chief and Cortana, which is what all of the Halo games focus on, that relationship so much. And I always prefer the spin-off games, where they tell other people's stories.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And then they took the villain of Halo Wars 2 for this game, which I think was a bad call, but I also see maybe they didn't really have any other options.
If they didn't want to do Cortana AI story, then they didn't.
And they killed the Covenant in Halo 5, definitively, so...
Yeah, they killed Jill Mandama in a weird cutscene.
They killed Jill Andama, they killed you went to the Covenant City and you shut down the final Storm faction or whatever. It's the whole thing. But, yeah, the Banished just, they don't have their charm, and, like, Banished architecture in this game, it doesn't feel distinct enough from human architecture. Like... The Covenant architecture, I love it because it's purple and it's weird and it uses organic shapes.
It's got round edges and stuff and it curves.
And it feels so different. Banished architecture just kind of feels like human architecture.
Yes.
But with some more red flair to it.
It's got more aggressive lines to it, I would say. It's got sharp edges.
But it's not distinct enough, especially in the open world. It doesn't like stand out from the environment enough.
Yeah, no, there's like a big Banished base between two big Forerunner like cliff pillars, and it just kind of sits there.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I feel like in Halo Wars 2 they were more distinct. Am I wrong?
Actually, I think it was the same in Halo Wars 2.
I felt like in Halo Wars 2 they felt like really big and chunky and bulky.
I think they were really big, chunky and bulky in this game as well.
I don't know, I didn't feel it. They just felt like the Covenant to me.
I got the same, but I think the actual enemies to kill, apart from bosses, looked fairly standard. Like the elites just looked like the Covenant elites.
Yeah, they weren't even reds.
Yeah, they could. Like there was a couple red ones, but it was like blue miners, white ultras, yellow generals, and red, like officers, I guess.
Yeah.
But the elites felt fairly Covenant. The grunts felt just fairly standard as well. The jackals, there was some red jackals and there was some Covenant jackal types. The brutes felt fairly Covenant, though I don't think the brutes felt fairly Banished, even though they are the core of the Banished. I felt the brutes actually felt very Covenant-y.
They were basically the Halo 2 brutes.
Yeah. There were some Halo 3 ones as well.
Yeah, some of the ones with shields or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I felt like the Banished in this game have lost their identity a lot, and maybe that is purely just because Atriox wasn't there, I'm not sure.
I think Atriox not being there really sucked a lot of air out of the room. He was the poster boy for them. To the point where they even reference him in the game a lot and they turn him into like a martyr. Because again, Escharum really did think he was dead even though he wasn't dead.
Well, he was in a big explosion, and what I assumed from that final cutscene, although people seem to be arguing this online, is that he's gone back in time.
Oh, interesting.
Because you get like a little, like 6 billion BC time code when that cutscene starts. So you do. I remember that. But again, I was so certain that was like a Forerunner guy that by the time the end of the cutscene was there because of the weird voiceover, I'd forgotten about it by the end of it. Yeah, because they say like when Master Chief pops out of that portal, it's like it's been 3 days or whatever.
It's been 3 days, yeah.
So I was like, okay, they've just said this is Scott Lang emerging from the back of that van. Right, and then the cutscene at the end.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah, the cutscene at the end is like, yep, you can time travel backwards too, and now Atriox is in the past. That's what I got from the cutscene. Apparently, people disagree and they think that the BC was just for the dialogue, the voiceover. I don't know. We'll find out. I guess
we'll find out. I guess I don't think they would put a visual key for a voiceover that's going over a actual post credit.
Yeah, I don't either. I think he has gone back in time, which I don't know how I feel about, but I guess we'll see.
He's gone back in time to stop the Halo rings. Though, I tell you what, it could really fix the Halo franchise if people are a little bit fed up with it. It could really help jazz things up a bit. I kind of don't really like time travel as a concept in most things, because I think it's just, oh, well, now we can just do whatever we like.
Yes, it's similar to multiverses. You got to be really careful what you do with it.
You've got to be really careful what you do with it creatively. I think the MCU does multiverses quite well. I think time travel is a bit of a mess.
Yes,
but you've got to be careful. You've really got to be careful, and they could sink the franchise if they fuck this up.
Yeah, they could do with time travel. They could literally just like rewrite the entire game.
Yeah, they could wipe out all the lore, start again. You could be best friends with the fucking Sangheili, or you could be their worst enemies. The Prophets could come back.
Atriox could be God King of the universe.
Oh, it's going to be the tyranny of Mad King Washington.
You know what? I'm kind of shocked we agree so much on this. I was fully expecting to come into this podcast and have like a big argument where you're like, "Oh, it's the best Halo game in years," because I've seen so many takes online of like this rejuvenates the franchise. It's the best Halo game in decades. It's like, no, it's not. It's fine. It's fun to play, but
it's just
in
fine.
terms of, it's just fine. It's the same old Halo we've played again and again. There's nothing new about this besides a grappling hook.
I think it's slower than Halo 5, which I do like. It's not the best FPS Halo that we've seen recently. I think that would still be Halo 4 from a story perspective. And the best Halo game we've got in the 343 era is Halo Wars 2. So I don't even know where this
ranks. Which they didn't even make.
So. Which they didn't even make. They were part of, though. Unlike Halo Wars 1, where Bungie had nothing to do with it, at least these guys were to do with Halo Wars 2.
You say you like that it was slower than Halo 5. I feel like with the whole open world premise, which they clearly was a big part of development of this game,
yeah,
I just feel like they kind of shot themselves in the foot with that, because it means that all of the story has to take place on this ring.
Oh, and there can't be like a mission in space and a mission on another
planet.
Exactly. Yeah, like Halo 2 starts in space, then it's on New Mombasa, and then you're on a Halo ring, and then you're on High Charity, and you're dipping and dapping about, but in an open world, you're locked to the map.
Honestly, the best mission in this game is the first mission where you're on that Banished spaceship.
Yeah.
Because that's, like, the most interesting environment, even though I think it's fucking ridiculous the Chief can take down an entire warship by himself by just blowing up some, like, fuel cells. It doesn't make any sense.
He gave the Covenant back their bomb in Halo 2, and he didn't do anything. He sunk a supercarrier in space. Not a supercarrier. Like, he blew up a Covenant ship with just a bomb in Halo 2. So I don't find it that weird.
That mission also teased me for a few seconds, because I thought it was going to be way more directly tied to Halo Wars 2 than it was, because you walk into that massive room and it's like the base building room, basically, where they're talking about like energy extractors.
Yeah.
There was a reference to energy extractors, like, yeah, I've played Halo Wars 2, I know about energy extractors.
No scarabs in this game. I thought that was a surprise.
No scarabs.
For an open world Halo game?
Yeah, that would have been an easy one to do, other than, like, all the resources, I guess.
Oh, God.
Okay, let's speculate. Because you said you don't know what... My thought... Okay, let's speculate. What would you do? That's a question I'm more interested in. What would you do next? Because I have a thought of what I would do.
Apologise.
Okay, you can do that, but what would you actually do with, like, where would you take this story?
I would take us off the Halo ring.
I agree.
I would take us away from there. I wouldn't mind, like, fuck it, just turn it into, like, really, if you want to make this game like Destiny, as they clearly do, make it like Destiny. Have the ring be one location, have it be one patrol space. Give us different places to go to. Keep the Halo ring as like a destination, but give us Earth, give us an alien planet somewhere. Give us the Ark, give us Halo Wars 2, give us that can be the Taken King, that can be the Forsaken. Like, it can start with a trailer where like some person we used to like killed Spartan Jerome or something like that.
No, they can't just keep killing off characters off screen.
They killed kids in a cutscene.
At least that was in a cutscene.
That's what I mean. Give us like a trailer and like a cutscene where like someone that we thought we could kind of trust kills like a character we liked, and have that be the thing around DLC. And Chief has to get revenge for the death of Jerome.
I hope they're smart enough to keep all of that for Halo Wars 3. I really do. I don't know if they are. I actually doubt that they are smart enough to keep it for Halo Wars 3, but I hope they are.
That's why I wonder if we're getting Halo Wars 3. I thought if we were getting Halo Wars 3, we would either have it by now or know about it by now, because they've taken
this game,
a while.
Yeah, this game clearly takes place after Halo Wars 3, whatever that would be. It has to.
It has to. Unless no, because actually we want to try and redeem this game by tying some of its elements into Halo Wars 3.
Well, the implication is, like, since they never mentioned the Spirit of Fire and Atriox is fine, the implication is kind of that the Spirit of Fire is just fucked, right?
The Spirit of Fire is still round the arc and got to continue with its mission because there's more banished forces. Like Halo Wars 2's end is Captain Carter getting ready to clear up the rest of the banished forces, and then Atriox smashing a computer, looking out over a cliff and seeing a massive army of banished on the arc ready to continue the fight. Like,
yeah,
that's how Halo Wars 2 ends, apart from Ellenhandler's leaving on the Halo ring to go to take over Installation 04 near Reach.
Well, yeah, she was going there to call for help.
Yeah, to call for help. So, who knows? Like, I guess, like, between that end of Atriox looking at his own armies, and then he leaves to go to Zeta Halo, I guess he must have done something with the Spirit of Fire before he left. Why would he have just left the arc to deal with that? Does he delegate? Is he like, I don't care about one UNSC ship around the arc, you guys deal with it, I'm away?
Well, I guess they could do Halo Wars 3 with those two Brit brothers you play as in that one DLC, but that's not nearly as impactful as taking down Atriox, you know?
That is awful.
What were those guys' names? Like Pavium and Vordis? Yeah. They don't get a mention in this game, so maybe they are dead.
They're just the silly two brute stepbrothers.
So what I would do...
What would you do, Kel?
I would make this... I mean, and this is going to show my bias of not liking Master Chief. I would use this as a platform to tell other stories. Like, we started with Master Chief and he's the big one, but we could also have... Just for an example, we could have a campaign where you play as Spartan Griffin, like, immediately after the destruction of the Infinity and what he got up to before we found him being tortured. You want like a
mini prequel story camp, a DLC?
We could have different stories with different characters, with different perspectives on this war. That's what I would do.
That would be good. I would like that.
I don't think they'll do that.
That would lock us to the same map though. We'd get one linear mission evacuating the Infinity, then it would be the same map that we've got for Halo Infinite, but it would be set in a different time with different POIs on the map. But it would be the exact same geography. It would be the same map, just with different POIs. That's all it would be.
Well, you could retcon that they landed on a different part of the Halo ring where it's a desert
I just don't think they would put the resources into DLC to giving us an entire new map. I just don't believe it.
I mean, they have to. Unless you think all their next DLCs are going to be fully linear, but I don't think so.
Well, I think their next...
They might.
I think their next DLCs may indeed be linear. I'm actually not sure.
Honestly, that would shock me.
I'm actually not sure.
Yeah, you might be right. Like, the open world was a big experiment they did, and then they're like, nah, we're done with that now. We're just going back to linear campaigns.
Because I think that, like, especially when they delayed the game by a year and they decided, like, oh no, what else can we do? And they had to really, really start working on the game in the last 12 months. I think that by that point, even if they didn't want to do open world, it was just too late.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for future DLCs, if they have decided... I mean, they might stick by their guns. They might decide, no, we wanted to do open world, we're doing open world. But honestly, if they decided it was just too much hassle and it was worth it, their next DLCs could totally be linear. And then maybe in like a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years from now, we get another open world one. But I think if they want to go open world, they should just do a Destiny and give us like a central hub location and give us different locations that are like patrol spaces, and the Halo Ring's just one of them.
The thing is, right, I mean, I think you like me did a lot of the open world stuff before you actually finished the campaign.
Yeah, most of it. When
almost
at the end,
all of it is totally pointless to the story. It's just like busy work.
This busy work at the end of it, when like you finally go back into the open world space after you kill Harbinger. He's like, okay, Cortana, give me a list of things I still need to do, and she said nothing because I had done everything.
I didn't know that. I think I had like a couple like Marines still to rescue.
I had done everything, and he's like, okay, Cortana, tell him what we still got to do, and she was just silent.
That's really funny.
She just ignored him. Because I had completed the game. There's like some audio logs I still need to get, but they're not marked on the map. There's some skulls I still need to get, but again, they're not marked on the map. So nothing.
You gotta replay the campaign to get some of the skulls.
Yeah, I need to replay the campaign to get some of the skulls. I should watch up a guide for that. I've only got like 3 of them, and all of them I think are available in the open world. So, yeah, like, I have no real desire to go back into the campaign at the minute. which is a shame.
I replayed it for the skulls, although I didn't really pay attention to it. I skipped all the cutscenes. I just blazed through it on easy, so that doesn't really count.
Can you do a new campaign like plus where you keep all your upgrades, or do you need to work towards your upgrades again?
No, you have to do it all again.
Oh.
Yeah, you have 3 save slots. So I have my legendary save slot, I have my easy save slot, and I did try starting it on Lasso, which...
Oh,
God. You know what? It's not so bad because A, bandana's in this game, which is a big help. And B, blind doesn't for some reason, and I think this might be a glitch, there's still a little green X that pops up for your grapple hook, so you still have a reticle. Yeah, I can't even say, like, I don't feel disappointed because my expectations for this game weren't that high to begin with. But I don't know, it's just Halo.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. So, Hawkeye?